put Julian Newman alongside the dramatic chipmunk and sneezing panda. The 11-year-old basketball phenom has gone viral. In less than a week, his videos already have nearly 300,000 views on YouTube.
In the world of basketball, talent usually speaks for itself, but sometimes controversy speaks even louder. And no player represents that better than Julian Newman, a name that exploded across the internet at an incredibly young age, dominating headlines, highlight reels, and social media feeds before most players even step onto a high school court. Some people believed he was a once-in-a-generation prodigy, a fearless scorer who could redefine the game despite his size. Others saw something completely different, a player surrounded by hype, criticism, and constant debate about whether he truly belonged among elite prospects. His journey has never followed the traditional path, and that's exactly why it continues to divide opinions to this day. And if you enjoy deep dives into controversial sports stories, rising stars, and the truth behind the hype, make sure you hit that subscribe button and join the channel, because we break down the stories no one else talks about. Today, we're uncovering the full story of Julian Newman, the hype, the criticism, and the reality behind one of the most debated players basketball has ever seen. The viral beginning that changed everything. Julian Newman's story doesn't start in college arenas or NBA draft conversations. It starts on the internet. At just a young age, he became a viral sensation, gaining attention for playing varsity basketball while still in middle school. Clips of him crossing over older defenders, hitting deep shots, and playing with confidence far beyond his years quickly spread across platforms like YouTube and Instagram. People were amazed. It felt like the basketball world had discovered something special, a young player who wasn't afraid of the spotlight and thrived under it. But at the same time, this early fame created expectations that were almost impossible to live up to. From that moment forward, Julian Newman wasn't just a kid playing basketball. He became a brand, a headline, and a constant topic of debate. As his popularity grew, so did the media attention. Julian Newman wasn't just playing games anymore. He was performing in front of cameras, building a following, and becoming one of the most recognizable young athletes in the country. Shows, interviews, and viral mixtapes turned him into a household name among basketball fans. But with that spotlight came pressure. Every move he made was analyzed, every game was judged, and every performance was compared to the massive expectations that had been placed on him. For some fans, the hype was justified. They saw his confidence, his scoring ability, and his fearless mentality as signs of future greatness. But for others, the constant media exposure felt forced, creating a narrative that was bigger than his actual on-court performance. The skill versus size debate. One of the biggest reasons Julian Newman became such a controversial figure was the ongoing debate about his physical limitations. Standing significantly shorter than most elite basketball prospects, he faced challenges that couldn't be ignored. In a sport where height and athleticism play such a crucial role, many critics questioned whether his style of play could translate to higher levels of competition. Supporters argued that skill, ball handling, and basketball IQ could overcome those limitations. They pointed to his ability to create space, handle the ball under pressure, and score in difficult situations. Critics, however, believed that as the level of competition increased, those skills wouldn't be enough to compensate for the physical disadvantages. This debate became one of the central themes of his career, dividing fans into two completely different perspectives. There's no denying that Julian Newman's highlights are entertaining. Quick crossovers, deep shots, flashy handles. These are the kinds of plays that grab attention and go viral. But one of the biggest criticisms he faced was the difference between highlights and full-game performance. While his mixtapes showcased his best moments, critics argued that they didn't tell the complete story. Questions started to arise about efficiency, shot selection, and overall impact on the game. Was he truly dominating, or were people only seeing carefully selected clips? This gap between perception and reality fueled even more debate, making him one of the most discussed players in basketball circles. The role of family and environment. Another major factor in Julian Newman's story is the role of his family, particularly his father, who played a significant role in shaping his career. From training to exposure, everything was carefully managed to build his image and maximize his opportunities. Some people viewed this as dedication and smart planning, while others criticized it as pushing too much too soon. The environment around him was very different from most young athletes. Instead of quietly developing his game, Julian grew up in front of cameras, constantly being watched and judged. This unique situation added another layer to the controversy as people debated whether it helped or hurt his development as a player. The internet's favorite debate. Few players in basketball history have sparked as many online debates as Julian Newman. Social media became a battleground where fans and critics argued endlessly about his talent, his potential, and his future. Some defended him passionately, pointing out his confidence, work ethic, and ability to handle pressure at a young age. Others were just as vocal in their criticism, questioning the hype and pointing to his struggles against stronger competition. This constant back and forth kept his name relevant even as years passed. In many ways, Julian Newman became more than just a player. He became a conversation. Going viral at a young age might seem like a dream, but it comes with challenges that most people don't see. For Julian Newman, early fame meant growing up under constant scrutiny. Every mistake was amplified, every bad game was criticized, and every expectation felt heavier than the last. While other players had time to develop away from the spotlight, he had to do it in front of millions of viewers. This kind of pressure can affect confidence, decision-making, and overall development. It's a side of the story that often gets overlooked, but it plays a huge role in understanding his journey. Did the hype help or hurt him? This is one of the biggest questions surrounding Julian Newman's career. On one hand, the hype gave him opportunities that most players could only dream of. Exposure, connections, and a massive platform helped him build a brand and stay relevant in the basketball world. On the other hand, those same factors may have created unrealistic expectations that were impossible to meet. Instead of being allowed to grow naturally, he was constantly compared to elite prospects and future NBA stars. This made every performance feel like a test, and every result was judged more harshly than it would be for a typical player. As time passed, the conversation around Julian Newman began to shift. The same people who once saw him as a future superstar started to question what went wrong, while others began to take a more balanced view of his career. Instead of focusing only on hype or criticism, some fans started to recognize the complexity of his journey. He wasn't just a viral sensation or an overrated prospect. He was a player who experienced a unique path filled with both opportunities and challenges. Understanding where he stands today requires looking beyond the headlines and considering the full picture. The lesson behind the story. Julian Newman's story is about more than just basketball. It's about how social media, hype, and public perception can shape an athlete's career in ways that go far beyond the game itself. It raises important questions about how young talent should be developed, how much exposure is too much, and how expectations can impact performance. Whether you see him as underrated, overrated, or somewhere in between, there's no denying that his journey offers valuable lessons for players, fans, and the sports world as a whole. In the end, Julian Newman remains one of the most talked about names in basketball, not just because of what he did on the court, but because of the conversations he created off it. His story is a reminder that in today's world, being talented isn't always enough. How you're perceived can matter just as much. As you think about everything you've seen and heard, one question still remains. Was Julian Newman truly ahead of his time, or was he simply a product of hype in the age of social media? Whatever your answer is, one thing is certain: his story will always be remembered as one of the most controversial in basketball history.